Sometimes the cheaper ticket to the same destination starts from another city. If I am in Taiwan, I would normally search from TPE, but the Starlux or EVA Air ticket may start outside Taiwan, connect in Taipei, and continue to the same destination for less. That is an external origin flight. Same destination, different starting city. I'm Marvin, and this is Marvin Builds, where I build and test real AI agent workflow in public. So yes, this video is about external origin flight search. What Codex changes is the effort. It makes this kind of search efficient enough to actually do. The problem is that searching this by hand is painful. One flight search is easy. The painful part is comparing a bunch of starting cities without turning your notes into a mess. So I want Codex to do the comparison for me. They leave me with the part that still needs judgment. Does this route actually make sense after the baggage, timing, and other details? One search is easy. Doing it 7 times and still trusting your notes is the hard part. If I started with Taipei to London, that is one normal search. But the real question is, what if the better starting point is Hong Kong, Singapore, or Kuala Lumpur? Now every search has to stay fair. Same destination, same travel window, same basic setup. Then I still have to compare price, timing, stops, and the source. And because flight price move, I need to know when I found it and what the page showed. It sounds simple, but after a few taps, the search starts to blur together. The trick is giving Codex one repeatable job. Start with the same trip, search it from different cities, then give me a short list I can review. I want to see the price and where it came from. Then tell me which options are worth a closer look. If an option needs separate tickets, Codex should call that out clearly, because that is a very different kind of risk. For this demo, I use SerpApi as a search feed. If you already have another reliable flight data API, you could point the agent there instead. The important part is the workflow. An API gives Codex candidate results, and then I verify the strongest options on visible flight pages. One boundary, I set up the API access myself. I would not ask an agent to sign up for service, handle account verification, or touch billing. Codex only uses the prepared search feed. That is all I want at this stage, a clean list of options worth checking. Before Codex can use SerpApi, I need to set it up. Open Google Chrome or Safari and go to serpapi.com. Sign in with Google, then get your API key. I already have mine, so I cannot show that step again. Save the key in a secure folder, then tell Codex where to find it. Do not paste the key into the chat. Finally, ask Codex to connect to SerpApi and run a quick test. Once Codex shows a successful response, I know the connection is working. Now I can run the full search. It can run the same kind of search again and again, collect the results and keep the data in one place. For each starting city, I want the price, the source, and a quick note on the trade-off, because the cheapest looking route is not always the best travel decision. The travel dates stay fixed from September 15 to September 24, 2026, so the first comparison is fair. If I actually use an external starting point, I may need to arrive earlier for a position flight. Codex is useful here because it is patient. It can run the same kind of search again and again, collect the results, and keep the data in one place. For each starting city, I want the price, the source and a quick note on the trade-off, because the cheapest looking row is not always the best travel decision. The useful output is a shortlist, not a wall of flight results. For this search, Taipei to London became the baseline. The shortlist used one candidate from each city. Taipei was the baseline at $1,095 with Emirates and one stop. Hong Kong came back at $729 with Lufthansa and one stop. The API shortlist showed Singapore at $786 with Qatar Airways and one stop, and Kuala Lumpur at the same price on a British Airways nonstop. Those numbers make the alternative look attractive, but the lowest price does not tell me whether the whole trip works. That's why I want a shortlist with context, not just the lowest price. Codex gives me a clean set of candidates instead of a messy browser session. Now the table has to survive a visible page check. First, Codex turns the API shortlist into a simple summary. Then I open the public flight pages myself. I recorded these pages on July 12, 2026. They are in US dollars for a round trip to London in September. Taipei was around $1,100. Hong Kong and Singapore were a few $100s lower. But when I opened Google Flights, the Singapore price was already different from the API result. That difference is why the shortlist is only a starting point. I still need the public page before I trust the result. A cheaper ticket can still cost me more. If the trip starts in another city, I first have to get there. That could mean another flight, a hotel, or extra time. Kuala Lumpur is a good example. The $750 option looked cheap, but it took more than 35 hours. The $786 nonstop looked much better. So I still have to ask, after all that, am I really saving money? This is the part I would actually use again. Codex does a repetitive search and gives me a short list. I check the best options and make the final call. That gives me more time to think about the trip instead of managing browser tabs. One last thing, this is not hidden city ticketing or skiplagging. If I buy a ticket, I plan to fly every segment on that ticket. If I use separate tickets, I leave enough time between them, because the airlines may not protect that connection. Is there another time-consuming search you want me to try with Codex? Leave it in the comments. I may turn one of your ideas into a future video. If you are building with AI agent, follow Marvin Builds. I will see you in the next build.